Hey there guys, it's Metro, and this one's going to be a little different. This is the video that I made about a month ago now. Biggest problem with Mythic Plus in Battle for Azeroth. If you know me, this is still a topic that gets brought up pretty much daily, and I really don't want it to go away. So I was really hoping this video did better, not to bore you with this kind of stuff. I was hoping that this video really kind of rode the waves of the recommended box, got into the right people's recommended box, and kind of caught fire like some of the videos I've made in the past did, especially with classic stuff. But it didn't happen. So, well, I mean, not yet, at least. It's only been out for a month. But regardless, a lot of the topics that I talk about here are just universal problems that I've seen through Legion. So I made the video, and obviously you can watch it if you want, be in the description, whatever. But today what we're going to be talking about is I'm going to actually read every single comment and respond to them with this video. All right, so it's a little different. I kind of expected it to be a bigger video, to have a lot more comments by this point, but there's still 127 comments, so there's a lot to read. Regardless, the reason I'm doing this was because I don't want the comment section to be kind of polluted. It's a dumb word to use, but I don't want it to be kind of biased out by my opinions, right? I gave my opinions in the video, and that's kind of where I want it to end. You know what I mean? I want other people's opinions to be able to be discussed freely there, kind of like you might do on maybe a forum or a Reddit, and try to learn from it. I've been trying to do that a lot with forums, obviously increase forum presence, even on things like Reddit or other social media. I kind of just like to see how people react and kind of, gauge global trends. And we'll see, we'll see what we can garner from this. About 95% of these comments I've never even read. I did read a few of them when they were posted very early, and that was when I decided. So I had posted the video and I was at work, and, maybe about 20 to 30 comments came in, and I was like, oh, that's a lot of stuff to reply to already. So let's do it this way instead. So anyway, let's take a look. We're going to go right through it. I'm going to read every single comment, especially in every single thread. All right. So I posted basically a TLDR, kind of like a summary of the video. So that obviously will be, I'm not going to read that, but I'm sure people are going to comment on that. So let's see. Cop says, blame Harry. I guess we could always agree on blaming Harry. There's no problem with that. This guy said, Mustafa says, so true, aka one mistake, and I'm out sort of people destroying pugs. Yeah, I'm glad people are seeing this. I mean, this is happening to me very frequently. So, yeah, I mean, the guy agrees. Not really much to say after that. This has always been the problem with tools given to people. It will always be used by those how to see fit to use them. I personally hate scoring systems in general. Yeah, fuck you, Gear Score. But Radar.io score has its merit for personal achievement, and to me, it's just a problem that really have no fix, because in the end, most of the problems come from the human part, mentality-wise. Yeah, I mean, that's exactly why I made the video the way I did. At the ending, I put like, well, it doesn't look like this problem can be solved by Radar.io, can it? And suggested ways that it can be solved by the actual, the people making the website or the people using the website. That's the way I think everybody should be addressing it. You're correct that people think they are much better than they really are, hence why people have 500 IO score thinking they're going to complete 10s and higher. As for myself, at 1100 score, I would not queue for plus 15. The system works fine if used properly and people stay within their skill level. The real problem is people think that item level equals skill level, and that is so untrue with Titan Forging. I don't think anybody thinks that. Once again, if your goal is to complete keys, make that clear, and the so-called elitists won't join your groups. As you said, they think they are better than that, and they will queue for one of those thinking that they're going to 2 chests of 10. You could also try making friends in game and play with them, or join Mythic Plus Discord and find some people that have the same mindset. Yeah, that's a problem, unfortunately. It's harder to find people who have the same mindset. It's like 95% of the people who I interact with who do Mythic Plus they don't think like I do. So I guess I'm the one who's wrong on that front. But you're all complaining about people that want to win because doing a key and time is winning currently, and even more so once your item level is above the current gear cap. Yeah, the problem with that, Rob Osman, is that it shouldn't be winning. Like, that's not the only way to win in World of Warcraft, right? Like, I don't know. That's not how any other PvE content works, so I don't really like that. That is the definition of winning. But I definitely disagree. I mean, very staunchly disagree. It's almost a bit offensive that you would even say something like that. It's really stupid, I have to say. People stay within their skill level. That everybody should be trying to get better always. So that's really asinine to even say that. Maybe others will agree. Don't forget, people with IO scores around 500 can still be pushing 15s. Just because there are those of us who don't want to do Shrine or Temple in Mythic Plus does not mean we are. Yeah, that's a good point, actually. I'm 800 and I'm not pushing that because I don't really care about my score. I'm 386 eye level. I raid every week. And when I'm bored, I run keys, but I'm choosing what keys I want to run. When Raider.io records all runs and comes up with a more standardized scoring system, I will change my mind about that. Till then, it's just crap. Very good idea. I mean, Captain Cribble, we have a lot of the same opinions on that topic. That's actually, yeah, my exact sentiment. Even though I do all the key, I'm not like not doing keys ever. Like I have 0 score in some keys. You really should try to balance. You're not really doing a good job if you're doing only what, 8 of the 10 dungeons. It doesn't really make sense. But regardless, it is perfectly possible to have 15s done and still be under 1K score. So the scoring system just needs to be blown up and started from scratch. I'm not here to reiterate that. So wait, let's see what this guy. So he replied to him, and now this guy's commenting again. Let's see. Not sure why you're replying if you're doing exactly what you want to do. What kind of system do you recommend? I mean, Blizzard expanded the leaderboards so more people could get a score and more keys would count. You can also queue for people on low pop servers to raise your score and make the key. Raider.io didn't make the timers. Blizzard did. Can't be asked reading all this. You're all getting a system the player base adopted, but since it doesn't work for you, you are mad. I'm sure no matter system the player base adopted, most would be unhappy. Rating and Mythic Plus are not the same. In smaller teams, it is more important that everyone knows their job. And in most rating guilds, people will get benched if they don't know the fights or just plain performing below par. In a pug raid, the poor performers would just be kicked. Yeah, that's the problem. That doesn't apply to Mythic Plus, man. The goal for most rating guilds, I don't know why we're talking about rating. Let's see. Bring this attitude to Mythic Plus, where speed and time is part of the encounter. I will make this simple. You are raiding and you continue to hit the enrage timer and wipe. Do you continue to just pull the boss and hope? Yeah, you do, actually. That's part of progression, dude. You don't just quit. These are terrible, terrible examples he's giving. Should we change Mythic Plus so that you can change out players in the middle? I don't think they should do that, but the scoring system should just take that into account. Like, you cannot replace a person who leaves the dungeon. There's no parallel to Mythic Plus and rating. It is not the same. It operated entirely differently. It's not in any way the same in terms of group building. So the score is basically created by raiders, people who have raided in the past and they don't understand what's important in 5-mans. I do agree that the way Raider.io calculates score isn't ideal, but I don't think this is the main issue here. I do not pug massive amounts of keys, but I pug around 50 to 100 keys higher than 10 in BFA, and I had 2 groups disbanding, which both have been for understandable reasons. One group wasn't capable to finish the key at all. I find that hard to believe. One would have taken about 2 hours, but the group agreed to disband since 2 people didn't have the time for a 2-hour key and nobody was mad. Yeah, I guess that's fine if that happens. I do see that it's a possibility that they've been really lucky with my groups, but a couple of my people from the guild run pugs a lot. They never complain about levers. Yeah, I've heard this a lot, so I suspect that might be more of an issue in US and EU. Maybe that has something to do with it, yeah. At least it seems like that to me. It might just be me and my friends being lucky, as I said. I've seen a lot of people say this recently. It's like something like, oh, I don't ever get levers. It's like, well... Okay, I stream every single key I do. I do maybe like 1 key a season. Well, more like maybe like 10 keys a season off stream, right? And really, if I'm doing keys off stream, it's because I'm with my guild or something, helping them, So it's like, okay, but it's fact. Like, I don't know. People are trying to like diminish the topic because they don't seem like it. They don't see it happening to them. But I have like factual evidence that happens to me all the fucking time. It's annoying. So I don't really agree with, I mean, it definitely, well, I don't know what your point was with this, but it definitely happens to me all the time. Maybe it somehow is related to US and not EU. I doubt it. I don't think that's the case, but regardless, people should never be leaving Mythic Plus. I don't really care what the reason is. This is understandable. They don't have time, but it doesn't matter. You all contributed to it being a 2-hour key. Get better at the game. I don't know what to tell you. Like, if you don't have time to do a 5-man, then don't do the 5-man. That's not my problem. You signed up to a group. You knew what the confines of the group were going to be. If for some reason it's taking 2 hours, then do better so it doesn't take 2 hours. That's it. End of story. But I understand, people do have to leave. There's emergencies. Things are unexpected. But anybody who leaves on purpose without intending to finish the dungeon, at least throughout the entire timer. Like, if it's 30-minute timer and you leave 10 minutes in the dungeon, then... Yeah, let's not say how I feel about that. Any system that is made won't change a thing. People that complete high keys in time will and should have a higher score than in any system. Mythic Plus would be pointless without a timer and would be farmable Warfront. Pointless. I have no idea what that has to do with anything here. But obviously, the suggestions we're suggesting would not... Yeah, the people who do the most keys and the highest keys would still have the higher score for sure. Easy start. Include all runs once they're used to drop the key. Ones that people leave halfway through. Second point, awarded not by timer for dungeons alone, but damage taken, damage given, and same with healing. In the end, it's just a key. None of this should matter. Just go out and have fun. Yeah, I don't think that would be possible. Captain Cribble having a lot of comments here. I don't think that would be possible, but regardless, there's better ways to do it, for sure. All runs should be included. You were right to say that, I would say. There's absolutely no reason that we should only be counting progression keys in this scoring system, because that is one of the least important things about how successful you can be with Mythic Plus. It is not rating. You don't just kill the boss once, you know what I mean? You have to do these dungeons dozens and dozens and dozens of times. So I am not the complaining. Once again, with that score method, better players would be higher once again. Games are competitive in nature, and this hippie attitude of everyone is a winner is bullshit. A game without a method to win or be rated is just an activity. IO score, gear score, item levels, achievements are just a tool for like-minded and knowledgeable players to get together. If someone isn't happy with place on the food chain, I recommend they change their place by logging more hours, reading more, watching videos. It's really ironic that he's saying this based on the first comments. It doesn't make any sense. Like, the two things are diametrically opposed. If used properly, people stay within their skill level. How could you say that and then say, oh, you should just get better at the game if you're not satisfied? It's like, what? I don't know what this guy's points are, but I don't really find myself agreeing or siding with any of them. I'm Raider IO 600 that have timed Motherload 10, Freehold 10 more than 10 times each. Couple times 2 chests. People who only look for 1k score, Motherload 10, don't only want to win. They want to win easy and be elitist with no visible benefits. Well said. I would agree. Oh, and sometimes they expect you to pull multiple groups, so even though they have no strategy to deal with multiple infested mobs. This is actually a really good point. They had this amazing run with their friends and looked to duplicate it with a different comp with no voice comp. This is basically the reason I made the video. Yeah, they expect you to do things that are unrealistic given the group that you're in. Let's put it that way. You know what I mean? One person thinks that because somebody out there did it, everybody out there can do it. Not only can they do it, they should be able to do it repeatedly well every time. And I don't agree. You know, a lot of people, there's probably going to be comments in this video as well disagreeing with my point. But I absolutely do not agree that you should be taking unnecessary risks in groups that you are not in any cohesive like mold with. You know what I mean? If you do not know these people, if you cannot be sure that these risks are worth taking, then you should not be taking them. And that's the way I pug, you know. So this guy again agreed. And the Raider IO add-on tells me more about you when you queue than just your score. It tells me your best key ever and your best key of one you queued for. From there I can see, yep, that's true. The add-on does do all that, so that's good. And this is another problem. This is not Blizzard's problem, or this is not IO's problem. This is Blizzard's problem. Half my runs didn't make it because I tend to do keys on the weekend. Yeah, sadly that's regrettable, but I don't know. Can't fix that. The scoring system cannot fix that. So I've thought about what you said, and your system of scoring would only work if someone was logging the key. Who is he talking to? Maybe he's talking to me. I'm not even sure. Oh, he's talking about Captain Cribble's earlier comments. The information you stated above is not pulled from the leaderboard, so there for like Warcraft logs, it must be uploaded. Right. That actually something that I suggested too. If the key is not logged, then it should not count. Like if you don't have all the factual evidence about the entire run, then that's it. We don't need these like, oh, the key was completed in this time. That's not enough. You need to, like, if you're going to do this, I don't know. There's a lot of sweeping changes I would want to see, but they're unrealistic. There are also problems with that categories you choose, and here they are. I definitely agree that that was not a great idea on his part, so I'm not really going to read all that. The comp was also play into healing done. Yeah, exactly. Not a great way to measure all that. So I believe your scoring system will just lead to a few classes having even more problems getting into keys and will require more add-ons and someone to log your keys. I think, again, everybody, you know, the keys should be logged regardless. But if you want to talk Mythic Plus, we should address first the fact that range classes are handicapped, and I believe soon that no range will be in the meta for Mythic Plus. That's a weird thing to say, but yeah, obviously the meta is going to change regardless. Like, there's no way you're going to be able to mitigate that. I'm not saying there should be an easy fix. Yes, yet if they would just include all runs, ones in which people leave and ones people drop key levels, it would fix majority of the issues. I never leave someone's key. I joined for the run, not for my score. It's well said. Imagine if someone knew if they left their score alone would take a hit, that they would not really think about it. The keys they're really getting into. The other issue is that, like when I get King's Rest 15, you know I'm not going to run that as a 15, so I drop it down till it's something I can actually get a group that can complete it. I should in all reality get penalized for dropping it. I don't agree with that, but I do agree with the first part. Obviously, Yeah, it's just you need to start accounting for every key ran. There's no reason that you shouldn't. It's not rating. You know what I mean? The highest you do is nice, but that's only one part of the picture. The other problem is someone who, like me, runs 100 keys above 12 on just 4 dungeons. I should not have a lower score than someone who, another thing that it should be is dungeon and a fix specific. If you're worried about a scoring system, that scoring system needs to actually be relevant to the week you're doing it and the dungeon you're doing, because otherwise it's like, oh, that guy's got a 1500 score. Well, that could mean that, one person has done a, you know what I mean? They've done one dungeon once. That's not relevant. You can't work with that. Iceblock says, I stopped watching halfway because I didn't think you were going to finish at 10-11. This is one of the comments I remember reading. It's pretty funny. Pretty funny comment there, obviously, making a joke about people who don't complete Mythic Plus dungeons, even though the dungeon is still working. All right, so Brand, the pseudo-elitism one hit home for me. Yesterday I was doing a 5, and some warrior in my group attacked a warlock who messed up on mechanic by calling him brain dead. The lock then proceeded to leave, and it was rip key after only one wipe. Point being, if that dumb warrior wasn't a dick or elitist and just explained the mechanic for a second, I would have my upgraded key, and the warlock might not have left. Things like this, read more. I will. Things like this happen a lot too. There's way too many keyboard warriors who don't understand how to act as a team and instead choose to degrade people, which solves literally nothing. That's a whole different problem if you ask me. That wasn't what I was trying to get at when I was making this video. I think we're not talking about 5s here. This is just retardation. This is people who have actual something wrong with them. They have they have a problem. That's probably diagnosable problem. You know what I mean? They're wiping in a 5 and blaming someone else. It's like, dude. You could probably solo a 5. You probably bring 1 DPS to a 5 and still upgrade it. You know what I mean? That's a whole different problem. I wouldn't say that's related to the scoring system, but that's something that's always been there in WoW. Yeah, exactly. This is okay. Somebody else point. You should be able to finish a 5 with 4 people. Well, as long as you didn't lose a healer or tank. Not the point. I mean, it is kind of the point, right? I didn't really want to say that in the video, but I've seen a lot of people rally around this, and it's unfortunate because I didn't want this to be the topic that we were discussing here. Low keys being very toxic. The problem is there's just no reason to do low keys, right? Everybody is in a low key just to get past low keys. So nobody really wants to be there. So sad, but that's the truth. Zoltan, long-time viewer. Let's see what he's got to say. I've seen pug people complain about a few CCs on the hardest mobs pulling the instance. AD totem boss trash. Will not make the timer. Really, we would have wiped without it. It was the right call, and we 2-chested the run. But still, some people can't even wait for CCs going out. Just ridiculous. That's funny. That's the complete opposite. Them not CCing either is wasting time. If it's marked, just CC quickly as possible and move on. Yeah, I mean, the fact that I can never get people to CC is frustrating. But again, I don't really feel like that's part of the problem here. It's just, that's again just 2019. People just are really impatient. They don't want to wait. They don't want to pull their weight. They want to be, they don't want to fail. They don't want there to be any possibility of failing. They're not there to overcome adversity. They're not there to improve themselves. You know what I mean? They're there to basically be carried, and it's a shame. But, CCing in dungeons it really is kind of pointless. I mean, it depends on what level you're doing and what the fixes are, but randomly CCing mobs that aren't infested, I wouldn't want to see that. Player rating should be keys started divided by completed percent or deserted percent. That was Ice Block again. I would appreciate both a completed and deserted percent. My goal is always to complete and hopefully time a dungeon. I don't want deserters in my groups because we wiped on something and cannot make the timer. Would help weed out the elitists. Definitely, there needs to be a completed percent score. Absolutely, there needs to be something at least to encourage completing the dungeons. You could think of so many different ways to do this. It could be people lose score if they leave a key. There's so many different ways, but in the end, there needs to be some evidence that this person is actually there to complete the dungeon. If you're only there to time somebody else's key, what's the point? You know what I mean? It's their key. You're not going to get anything from timing it. Scoring system is contributing to this because it's giving people false reasons to care about timing somebody else's key. It's just really bad. It's really bad. You don't want this. This is not what a dungeon is supposed to be. You should not be leaving a dungeon 10 minutes into it because a single mistake was made. I mean, the fact that even happens is ridiculous, right? What are the odds that single mistake is going to be what prevents you from upgrading the key anyway? You know what I mean? That. And then conversely, I've had runs with 3 deaths and we still don't complete the key. You know what I mean? On time. So it's this is just so irrelevant. It's not good. Deserted percent would be fantastic because then I'll know who to avoid. Yes. That would be what we're all after, I imagine. It would be hard to tell if the key was completed or deserted by which member. If you did it for groups, then it punishes a lot of player base and distrust would run rampant. A solution, although it would be a challenge to implement, would be a peer rating system. Yeah, that would basically be what I was hoping for, a peer rating system. You would probably need a modifier for friends or guild members. There are varying degrees you can go with this, either just a flat ratings, 5-star rating system, a more invasive, harder to define percentage completed with pugs compared to pre-made. Rating at level brackets would be easy to rate highly by smashing lower keys to make up for a blemish. There are so many factors to make a fair system, probably why none have been widely implemented, since many would cause more problems than they would solve. Also, some keys with a 15 under. I tried this week. We was agreed to leave after 2 minutes because we wiped on the first boss, having rogues skip the trash, and we were trying for the IO push. Just a sample of an example where leaving was not a bad thing for anyone since they were of common mind, however not ideal. I mean, if the keystone leader wants to leave his own key, then that's fine. But otherwise, you should never be leaving 2 minutes into a dungeon. Like, think about how stupid that is. Think about how ridiculous, that's where we're at in the game. That you would say, you signed up to something, and then 2 minutes into it, because a single mistake was made, they're like, I don't want to do this anymore. Think about that, man. I cannot believe that that's where we're at in 2018, man. And as soon to be 19. I mean, that is so counterproductive to what an MMORPG is supposed to be about. I cannot believe that that's where we're at. It's so sad that people are talking about that like that's a fine thing. There are Mythic Plus communities now. You can run pug keys and find kinship to run more in the future. People should always be looking to exhaust their trusted player base before resorting to full pugs, unless you just want to jam a quick one in and roll with the punches. I mean, I understand that point. A lot of people say that even to me. Like, I do a lot of pugging, and I love pugging. I think pugging is what, the game is all about. I really do. But I don't think we should be making excuses for pugs that are just toxic or people that are not there for the right reasons. So I don't agree, but I definitely, I could see your point. If you're looking to do Mythic Plus, you should probably ask your friends first, but I still think there's ways to make pugging better. I'd rather know if someone can complete a key on time, not that they're dumb enough to spend their life doing keys that they cannot time. That's possibly the most stupid suggestion for a rating I've ever seen. That's a shame to hear that, but I mean, like, I don't know, like, this kind of mentality is the problem, right? Not that they're dumb enough to spend their life doing keys they cannot time. Why is that dumb? What are you talking about? This is part of the video game, dude. And completing a dungeon is part of the video game. Like, you know what I mean? Blizzard has implemented reasons to complete the dungeon, but Raider.io just disagrees with those reasons, so they give no credit for that. So either way, there would be a system for both, a progression score and a completion score. I think both need to work hand in hand. Oh, here's Rob Osman again. So you're saying showing up and staying equals winning, lol. Man, yeah, I am. That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. If you look at Raider.io, you can find sub 10 keys that took over 2 hours to complete. Clearly, you have nothing better to do with your time, and you aren't going to learn anything in a group like that. That's really fucking stupid to say that. I mean, that is really, really ignorant to say that. I guess I'm not surprised based on the comments that were made earlier by this guy, but like, I just don't. They don't really. These comments don't make any sense together. So what are you talking about? It's called fucking learning, dude. This is why you're in there for 2 hours, because you're making mistakes. Or do you think people are just making mistakes and be like, like they're fucking Magikarp flopping around? Like they're gonna learn from mistakes. That's how you learn. You practice. The current system does not encourage practice, and Blizzard's end of the system does not allow you to practice. It's just really, I can't believe people are actually like, they see this. I don't even know, man. Anyway, Blizzard doesn't record keys not completed. The Asia Blizzard region self-managed this by keeping a forum post, but their culture is much different to ours, and they really do respect everyone, not like 50% of EU and USA players and pugs. Oh, this is very interesting. The Asia Blizzard region self-managed this by keeping a forum. Wow. It's very interesting. Personally, I do look at Raider.io, but not for the score, but to see how many times X has completed a run at a level and what it fixes. That's actually the best thing that Raider.io can provide, to be honest. I do think a metric that shows the number of runs at a given level would be better, including in a fixed score or something. What is missing here is on most servers, till you're doing 10, you're not getting a score at most weekends, so the score is weighted to those that run keys early and the reset too. But until Blizzard do something, Raider.io is about as good as it's going to get, unfortunately. Just remember, before Raider.io, score, it was eye level plus achievement, which is in my opinion absolutely no better. Yeah, it's true. Definitely Raider.io is better than not Raider.io, but it's just that the problem for me is it's like they're not trying to make it any better. In fact, like, even talking to people within their community, it's like they believe they've reached this is the end point for them. It's just a real shame. especially when you fell into this power. Like I don't think anybody thought that they were setting out to do this, right? But they did it, and now it's, it could be a lot better. So I don't know. It's a shame. Oh, this guy again, Jesus Christ. So this guy says, Ian Devin Lewis. Lol, so you want to see how much people complete in a deserter completion? Lol, 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 lol. That's hilarious. Why is that hilarious? I don't understand. Yes, I would like to see how many people complete keys. I think that would be very relevant for pugging. This guy again. Let's read it. Completion is not the goal. Doing in time is the goal. No, they're both the goal. No one runs a race just to complete it. Yeah, actually, many do. It's called marathons. The only reason to do anything over a 10 is for score period. Nope, Blizzard disagrees as well, as you can see by the incentive structures. As far as high keys, over 10, 80% of the player base aren't even doing more than 10. So if you want to talk about sub 10 keys, that is fine. No, we're going to talk about all keys. You also need to put some of the blame back on the person posting the key in LFG instead of making the title two-chesting, when clearly the key holder hasn't ever two-chested a key. They should change the title to Going for Time Will Complete. Yeah, that's a good point for sure. Like, it can be on both ends of the spectrum. The person making the key could make it clearer, but it's like, how clear can we be here? It's like, I would really like to do my very best in the run. I'm going to try really hard, but if things go poorly, please don't leave the dungeon. That's what I would put in every run. Like, I want to upgrade the key. I want to be the best I can be. I want to get the gear. I want to get the AP, but I also want to compete. I want to show myself that I can improve, show the people watching the stream that I can improve. But at the same time, I'm never going to improve if after one mistake in a 30-minute dungeon, we don't even try the rest of the dungeon. Like, I can't learn from that. You know what I mean? It's pretty silly. Anyway. The key posters are fluffing the title to get better players, as well as the players signing up for the key have some responsibility also. It's true. It's a good point. The key poster has never completed the key he is posting close to that level. Maybe you shouldn't queue for that key. Unfortunately, what's he going to do? Not do the key? That's really, really stupid. Raider.io works both ways, sort of. If there wasn't Raider.io, the player base would use something else like Keymaster and Legion. I don't know what Keymaster is, but you're right. Raider, again, I agree. Raider.io is better than not Raider.io. Leading me to my next point, player item level is far higher than player skill due to Titan Forging, and since Blizzard is not going to remove Titan Forging, the player base needs a scoring system to judge an unknown player's abilities. As a player that is around 1.1k, I can't believe this guy's like bragging about this. Jesus Christ. Mostly pug keys with my buddy. The score system is a good measure of the player's skill level and knowledge of the instance. Disagree. The people with the player base is that, because again, it's not. It's just like objectively wrong to say this. It's not even I disagree. It's just wrong. The score system is a good measure of the player's skill level and knowledge of the instance. No, it's not. Did you mean of the instances? If so, then maybe. But of one instance, absolutely not. They don't do anything related to the scoring system is not related to the key you are about to join. It has no impact on the affixes. You may literally have never timed a key on Tyrannical or Fortify, whatever's hardest at the time, right? And you're doing a Fortify. It's just not relevant. They need to expand on the system. They really do. The problem with the player base is that they want their 10 and they want it now. You have to put in time and effort to get a 10. You really don't. Score isn't hard to get. The most common thing I see with players with low score is that they haven't done all the instances at any level. When I see a player that hasn't done any instance or all the instances at any level, I assume their knowledge is lacking. Well, yeah, it would be lacking of those dungeons, but if you're not doing those dungeons, then who cares? There are some not Legion Mythic Plus. Wait, what? These are not Legion Mythic Plus. They are much harder. Sorry, I was failing to read there. I can't tell you the number of times I've seen players interrupt, never go on CD. Also, some reasons many players never want to use Discord or some other voice to complete Mythic Plus. It's if you're a key and you don't want to use voice, but my key you will get in Discord or you aren't coming. Hey, that's fine. If people want to use your keys for their dungeon, that's fine by me. But regardless, I mean, this is kind of the same stuff we've been talking. I guess, we're reading some of these out of order. But yeah, obviously I don't agree with most of what's being said by this guy. I agree with some of your sentiments. Key holders need to message people they are inviting, and if they are concerned about completion publicly, or at least whisper those intentions before the run starts. Some people want loot, some people want to push score. Make sure your group matches across all 5 players. Too much just auto-inviting and no prior. Well, that is the problem. And James McCraw, another long-term viewer, that is the problem. This whole auto-inviting is happening because of Raider.io score. They don't look at any other metric. They assume that the score is relevant, so that's what they go by, and it causes way too many problems. We just did a run on stream on Friday where, there was like a 1600 dude doing, a tall 14, and we wiped twice the trash. One of the times was definitely my fault, and he just leaves without saying a word. Just leaves without saying a word. Not there wasn't even an argument. You know, at least when there's an argument, you expect it to happen. Just straight up leaves. It was the healer, by the way, just leaves. It's like, all right, see you later, man. Like, honest, that guy should be penalized 100%. You know what I mean? Just leaves. And even other people in the group were like, that guy was an idiot. He's bad. You know, it's like, I don't know, man. I can't. It's so hard to do it. I love 5-mans, but I'm losing the battle here. Agree, the key holder needs to communicate what his or her goal is for the key. This is the problem, though. Like, it needs to stop being the norm to want to fail a key. Like, we should all want to be the best that we can be. It shouldn't be like, hey, guys, I'm trying my best here. Hope you are too. Come on to my key if you're going to try your best and not be upset if we don't do the best that we can possibly do. It's like, why do we have to say that? What are you guys playing the video game for? You know what I mean? Like, it's embarrassing that the default is this way. It really is. On top of that, there's a point where you must decide if the group can even complete the key in a timely manner. They always can. Yep. Unless you're like 340 item level, you can always complete the key. No one wants to be in there for an hour, more than an hour. Sometimes you're in there for longer. I don't know what to tell you. Nobody wants to not kill a raid boss, but you join raids and you don't kill a boss sometimes. That's how the game works. Time is important to people, and if they don't want it wasted, then they probably shouldn't be playing an MMORPG. I don't know what to tell you, man. Sometimes you spend more time in the game than you intended to do. That's the give and take of the game. That's why the game used to be, considered a hardcore video game, because you had to put 40 hours a week. Now 40 hours a week is nothing for these people. And they're trying to get like 50,000 dungeons done in that 40 hours instead of just playing the game and letting it go as they will. I do think you learn a lot from completing, even if you don't time. Yep, you do. It's again, that's not an opinion. You're gonna do more successfully. You're gonna do more dungeons successfully if you've done the entire dungeon multiple times. That's just a fact. It's, again, not an opinion. If you're gonna leave after one mistake every time you do a key, you're basically saying I'm so skilled that I don't have anything that I could possibly learn. There's no point in repetition. There's no point in practice. Think about that. If like a professional sports team took that attitude. I'm LeBron James. I don't need to go to practice. Why do I need to go to practice? I've been practicing this sport for 25 years now. I don't need to practice. Oh, that guy, he missed the opening shot of the game. Forget it. I'm leaving. It's just so stupid. It doesn't make any sense. It's like, where is this coming from? I don't know where this is coming from. For 10, people shouldn't focus on completion. 11 should be focused on time and getting better so you can ultimately time. Yep. And part of completion is that. Getting better is, you have to learn the dungeon. So once again, it depends on the goal of the key holder, which should be clear before starting the group. Again, I really hate that we're talking about this. Like, if the goal is not to do the best that you can possibly do and stick with it until you've given up, like, to no end, then you should not be playing the video game. You should not be pugging your dungeons. That's not, you know what I mean? That's just not fair to other people. Everybody who's doing it should be trying their best. And if a mistake happens, a mistake happens. The dungeon's basics should be known before getting to a 10. It's really this guy's frustrating because he's like the definition of a pseudo elitist. He's bragging about like a 1.1k score, talking about 10s and shit. It's like, dude, the only thing in a 10 that needs to be learned is infested IMO. Interrupts and CDs will be close to the same. Yeah, okay, sure. Hold up. Raising your score and minimal / play time is a goal that you place on yourself. It is not the goal. Oh, good. I'm glad to see people saying this. Chasing a score is not the only reason to play challenging dungeons. Some people enjoy completing a challenge for its own sake. Some people don't mind playing for an hour without raising their score, even if they had initially hoped to raise their score. Some people dislike being sent back to the group finder after playing just like a third of a dungeon. Yep. I mean, this is the only reasonable outlook on this topic. It really is. Oh, there's Lily. Long time no see. The problem is they haven't done all of the instances at any level. You say would show a certain lack of knowledge in general. That is only one side of the low Rayo score. The other side is that having some 600 points like me and having done not more than 5 different instances in BFA at Mythic Plus keys doesn't reflect that I know these very well so far. I know these few so very well. What the hell? I just don't have the time to play every day, so my focus must be on only a few instances. I think this isn't shown at all in the scoring systems. Yeah, it's definitely not. That's for sure. 100% it's not shown in the scoring systems. There needs to be a score per dungeon per fix. If you ask me, it's a lot of work, I'm sure. So it's never going to happen. But that's the way it should be, for sure. Oh, this comment has 6 thumbs up. Oh, God. Let's read this. There are so many logical fallacies in your posts, and this suggests that any debate I might find myself in would be folly, but here it goes. I'm glad other people are seeing this. Completion is not the goal. Doing in time is the goal. No one runs a race just to complete it. Yeah, hasty generalization theory at best, definitely. Under those terms, you're suggesting that anybody who is not Method, who won the world first race this tier and as many tiers back as I can remember, does not raid Mythic, when we all know this is very much not the truth, right? There's multiple levels of competition. There's multiple levels of progression. So obviously saying what he said there is really dumb. Say you even wanted to consider only the top 100 guilds to kill Cahoon, a winner in your imaginary race, then why are guilds working hard to progress that boss while we type? Yeah, that's a great point. You follow this statement up by saying the only reason to do anything over a 10 is for score, period. What about all the reasons Metro lists? Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, I literally listed them in the fucking video. Oh, man. Anyway, next you use the infamous anecdotal evidence theory. If there wasn't Raider.io, the player base would use something else, like Keymaster and Legion. Nobody serious in Mythic Plus used the Keymaster achievement. Oh, that's an achievement. Huh. We used WoW Progress up until Tier 21, which was useful, albeit very poorly designed website that does the exact same thing as Raider.io, but without the handy add-on. That's true. Yeah, that's a good point. It also awards a lot more for the completion of a dungeon. Yeah, I thought so, right? I feel like WoW Progress did a better job of this. I just checked and my score on WoW Progress is substantially higher because I frequently complete much higher keys out of time, usually seconds off the time, mind you. But Raider.io has the audacity to suggest that the 9 I one-chested is worth more than the 13. That's a real big problem. That is arguably my biggest problem with the system, without question. So that has got to change for sure. But anyway, I've had a very decent system in Legion, but someone stole the idea, put a lot of money into its implementation, and advertised and took over the scene. It's an interesting way. I guess that's what happened. I don't really know how they got popular, but next you use my favorite logical fallacy, the Texas sharpshooter fallacy. What is this? Cherry pick data based on a predetermined conclusion. Instead of letting a full spectrum of evidence lead you to a logical conclusion, you find patterns and correlations in support of your goal, right? As a player that is around 1.1k Raider.io on my main and around 900 in alts and mostly pugging keys with my buddies, the score system is a good measure of the player's skill and knowledge of the instance. Let me point out another bit of cherry pick data. I am the guild master of a large raiding guild. Every time I get a 10 key, I use it to guarantee that my guildies get a 10 every... Yeah, that's something I do too all the time, actually. I main Blood DK and Mythic Plus, leveled and geared for this sole purpose. To be able to help others means much more than personal gain to me. Unfortunately, this often causes my very well fought for keys to be done out of time. This doesn't mean I don't know the dungeons. It just means I have very different priorities than you. I raid lead 3 times a week, and often more for the alt runs my guild has. This leaves me with very little time to easily, as you say, get a high score. My first Keystone Master was actually a 2-chest at 11, just because I hate to let a key that could help so many others go to waste. You are you, and I am me. Where I recognize the diversity of players, you seem to think everyone is just like you. And it's ironic because, again, like, he is very unaccomplished. So if everybody was like, at least if it was the dude who was saying he was 2K score in the other video, it's like, all right, at least that's like a reasonable point to be bragging about. I think I have spent enough time on this, but the truth of the matter is score alone is in no way determinant of skill. Absolutely. You even give your, if I'm being entirely honest, mediocre score. I'm glad somebody else is saying it. Mediocre score in some attempt to convince the reader that your points are legitimate. I'm glad I did this. This is fun. It's not like you're doing 15s in time. We won't be seeing you at the MDI. You're quite literally the epitome of the pseudo-elitism that Metro just is in the video. I don't want to fight. I just want to never do a key with a player like you. Damn. Pretty kitty, you gotta hook me up with some fucking... I gotta talk to you more, man. That was well thought out. I really, I'm glad to have read that. That was fun, actually, to read that. Absolutely correct. Anyway, I completely agree with everything the person said, so it's nothing else to comment on. Absolutely correct. 10, plus 10 2-chest, 11 Raider score. And then you come in and the leader and his friends are all 800 and have never done anything close to 10 2-chest, possibly never 10 in time. I am 1700 at the moment, so I don't encounter this anymore, but in Legion, when I was climbing on main, this was a huge problem. I got very annoyed when I joined a group like that and realized they just hope to get carried, leaving after shrouding to the first boss and wiping because people stand in sanguine pools on the first boss. And underroute is 100% acceptable in my opinion. If you just want to complete it, then say so. Don't try to lure people that are... did he mean to say unacceptable? Oh, no, I guess he is saying it. Oh, I see. Like leaving after somebody does something stupid, I see. Don't try to lure people that are only looking to push their score into groups that are grinding out a weekly. Yeah, see, this again, it's not really what I wanted to get across. I mean, does this happen? I guess it does when you're doing 10s. I don't really do 10s, so I don't really know. But if you're at that like 10 threshold, I guess this is a problem. But I'm always above it, so I don't really see it. You know, even on my ults now, I'm starting to get past it. But no, I don't agree. You should never, like, first of all, this is why it's really frustrating to me, because it's like people are like, oh yeah, if 5 minutes into the dungeon people are doing stupid things, then I'm right to leave. No, you should have paid more attention to the group you joined. You know, this is really foolish. This is really foolish to put the blame on the person, only them, right? You're saying that the title of a group was plus 10 2 chest 11 Rio. I've never seen this, first of all. And they're like, it's so rare that people care about 2 chesting. But I understand people do want to do it. So sure, I'm sure it happens. But and then you come in and the guy's 800 radar score. Well, why don't you just leave the dungeon? Why don't you just leave before it starts then? You find that out the second you join the group, right? Why would you even start the group then? If you're going to have this like predisposed bias because they've somehow tricked you into doing a fucking video game activity that apparently you don't want to do with them or in general. You know what I mean? I just don't understand, man. And realize they just hope to get carried. Why is that the case? Why do you think they just hope to get carried? I don't really know. Maybe they're just trying their best. Obviously, this is deceptive if they did this, but I don't see this happening. I really don't. I don't see people, again, it's because I'm, regularly like 13 at the minimum. So this probably does happen in 10s. People just trying to get carried for their weekly credit, but I don't know. It's frustrating. Rob is back. Good to know there are people out there that agree. Me and a buddy plan on pushing to 1,500 in the next 2 weekends. I would like to, or the next 2 weeks. Good luck with that. I would like to see his score today. Same here. I only do the ones who matter for my class spec. Yeah, I mean, this is actually the problem, right? It's like the score is not relevant. It's too spread. It's too spread. Oh, here's another comment by this person. Good, we'll have to read this. Let's focus on Sandy's comment, another longtime viewer. Hey, Metro, thanks for the video. I just saw something that I can point out to is helping to perpetuate the pseudo-ism in which you refer. Oh my God, I'm struggling to speak at this point. My mouth's very dry. J-Dob has a really good walkthrough video on Temple Cetralis. As part of the walkthrough, he advocates skipping all the mobs at the start and going to lower first boss area. But for that, you will need a Shroud and Vis pot, and you will need a Speed pot to make it on time, and there is a stealth mob to watch out for. He shows you where you should walk to avoid it. Easy to see on the video, not easy to explain in a pug, right? That's probably could have just stopped right there. Most pugs, especially where not everyone in the group has seen the video and where they have never done it before, are going to fail at this. Yeah, I mean, there's skips, especially Cetralis is actually one of them. There's skips that are just harder than others. So it's like, it's not universal that you should try to skip trash. It's just not, okay? There's some things that are higher risk and lower reward than others. So anyway, what else? I would probably fail at this the first time I try it. And then you would never get to try it again, right? Like there wouldn't be like, all right, let's try this again. The key's lost, but I want to learn this. No, it's just, that's it. Good luck. Better luck 2 months from now when you get the same key again. You know what I mean? I just don't think this sort of strategy should be something that a top guild is advocating for everyone to do as a walkthrough guide. I don't think that's what he's doing. For as much as I dislike this guy, I don't think that's what he's doing there. I mean, he's not making a pugging guide. That's why I try to make the videos that I was making, because I'm trying to help people pug dungeons more. He's not doing that. I think he's clearly branding towards competitive groups, so that's fine. That's one thing I would like to say in response to your great video. Sweet. The other thing is just my own experience the other day. I was doing 5 shrine on an alt, trying to push the key. The shrine completed, but not in time due to inexperience of some of the group. The Ford told the gore completed, but not in time due to the tank not pulling the nearest trash mob to the first boss and the other tank type stuff. My 3 Temple of Cetralis fell apart because the tank died in the first boss on the first attempt. The healer complained that the Warlock didn't battle res and asked why, to which question the Warlock up and left the group. So, there I was on a relatively geared alt with 2 Temple of Cetralis keys, and I had put together a group of people who a +2 Temple of Cetralis key. I had put together a group of people who my add-on told me or at least completed the level of key in the dungeon I was doing. That was a lot of work for absolutely no reward. Actually, I got a negative reward. I had a 2 key. Perhaps it would be a start for Blizzard to actually make it that if you fail a key for whatever reason, that the key stays the same level and you get to try again, either in a new dungeon if the failed key was completed or the same one if the dungeon was not completed. As happens now, at least we wouldn't be further de-incentivized by having a lower key, which, again, the problem here is that there's no reason to do good or to do low keys. Good players are not going to do them. So frankly, it probably is harder to complete a 5 in time than it is to complete a 15 in time at this point. Maybe that's a bit generous, but basically one good player can carry a 5. That's not going to happen in a 15. But it's very rare to find that one good player. It has to be you. I mean, that's why I hate doing these low keys on my alts, because it's not me. I'm not able to go in on my Demon Hunter and carry a 5. Like, the group has to be competent, and it's so rare that it is, so I never get to upgrade my own key. But yeah, that's a problem. Again, not really with the system, not really with Mythic Plus. It's with the people. It's with the incentives that are there at the high end of the game. So I don't think that's going to ever be fixed. With gearing up being so easy on alts, more and more people are becoming geared enough to do higher keys, and the population of people who don't know the pulls is growing ever larger. See, that's I've heard people say that, but it's like, I mean, you can just watch videos. Maybe she's about to say that, but you can just learn. You don't need to do the dungeon to learn the basics. You know, when I'm talking about learning the dungeon, I'm talking about this high-level repetition that is mandatory for, even peak physical athletes. You know what I mean? How many times does a baseball player swing a bat? He doesn't just pick the bat up for the first time. You know, even before he gets to the plate, he swings the bat probably 20, 30 times. Sometimes with training weights on it. You know what I mean? To make him the most capable he can be when he finally gets into that moment. This is the complete opposite. What's happening here is they're doing the complete opposite. They think that the one chance they have to execute this, they're going to execute it perfectly, and if not, it must be somebody else's problem. Let's forget about it. You know what I mean? Imagine if that worked that way. Like, imagine if you went up to the plate, you didn't swing a bat all week, you went up to the plate, you struck out, and you started arguing with the umpire. It's just so frustrating, man. It's just the death of competition, which ironically is why, it's why I'm calling it pseudo-elitism, because they think they're better than they are, and they have these vaunted expectations of themselves. They're just unrealistic. Absolutely not even. They're beyond realistic. It's not even unrealistic. It's embarrassingly unrealistic, and it's really killing the community. But anyway, yeah, I'm gonna move on from this. But yeah, that's thanks again for the video. Thanks a lot, Sandy, for all your comments and all the time spent on the channel. But anyway, yeah, some great points. And again, I think a lot of that is, we've got a lot to read still, but a lot of that is just because the low keys are just there's no point to them. Unfortunately, Blizzard. I think you're right. If I was to say one thing, I think they should just make it so keys below 7 or something don't degrade. I think that's just how it should work. I think that works like that in other games, like ranking systems, right? Like, you can't lose ranking in Hearthstone. I think it's Hearthstone, right? Where, like, it's like rank 25 through 1. And if you're 20 or lower, whatever, like 20 to 25, which would be the lowest, you can't lose ranking. I think that should just be how it is with these keys as well. Pretty Kitty again. Am I wrong when I'm remembering WoW Progress valued completion much more than Raider.io? Back in Legion, before Raider.io had their add-on, I manually looked up players on WoW Progress. I remember because I am a player that still values completion over timer, I was a bit bummed to see my Raider.io tally was always behind that WoW Progress had given me. Edit to remove direct links, huh? Well, anyway, yeah, I don't know, actually. I don't know anything about that, but I would not be surprised if that was the case, because I did feel like the things were healthier in Legion, and I don't really know what's changed, but that might be the case. If the new, meta scoring system, Raider.io, is valuing keys differently, that could be a big problem, actually. I didn't even know that, so I'm very happy I read that. Zeus, normally love your comment, but in this one you really need some breathers when talking, as it felt like it was a 10-minute and 11-second single sentence. I had to rewatch part of it several times to understand what message you were trying to convey. I've had like 1 out of 1,000 people say this in a lot of videos. This is how YouTube works, guys. It's called watch time. That's why I'm making a live video for an hour, right? I'm not going to edit every breath out of it. But when I'm trying to make a short video, a compact short video, you're going to edit the ums and the breaths out of it. Like that's how YouTube works. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. Sorry, man. If I kept all the breathers in, quote unquote, and the different like pauses in between words, it would be a 15-minute video, and that would make the video less successful. So I'm not going to do that. Casual Dev, how about just punishing players for leaving before the timer hits 0? If you leave or disconnected, you get a strike, 3 strikes, and you don't get a cash for the week. See, again, way too harsh. I don't like this really harsh thing. I think the community can police itself. I don't think Blizzard needs to do it. But yeah, overall, I definitely think there needs to be some punishment if you leave before the timer hits 0. That's my biggest problem. If the timer is not even at 0 yet, you know what I mean? You cannot be sure that you're going to fail the key. And realistically, you probably, you have a great guess. You have a great chance to guess. But you can't be sure. Just stick it out. You sign up for a 30-minute dungeon. Stick around for 30 minutes. Anyway. Then people will just stand in the corner doing nothing and waiting for others to leave the group. However, no one will leave ever because they don't want to be punished. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, you sign up for a 30-minute dungeon. But you're right. It would just turn into a rage fest. You're right. It'd just be 30 minutes of arguing. That's not good for the game either. So not a great option. But oh, here we go. I used to play a lot of League of Legends. This was something that was thought up when I was making this video. I'm not sure if you're familiar with their systems, but it tends to work out well for the most part. There's already using an AFK system for the Warfront. If you AFK too long, you get kicked. I'm not saying this would fix the whole issue, but if someone is more willing to AFK and move their character a little every minute to avoid being kicked, then there's something wrong with those people. This is more work than just growing a pair and completing the damn key. I'm guilty of leaving keys too. When I push for IO and we wipe on the first boss and the timer is gone, there's no reason for me to stay in that key and nothing keeps me from not leaving. But if they just had something small like a leave system enabled, I wouldn't leave. And neither would many others. It is going to speed up the whole thing just to stick it out and complete the keys with others and not look like an ass AFKing. It sucks that people are, admitting to leaving keys, especially after one mistake, but I don't know. At least the guy understands that, there should be a system in place. Oh, Absinthe. What's up, man? How's it going? It's definitely something that needs looked at. I've thought a lot about the ideas from Legion to now while pugging Mythic Plus. It baffles me how toxic people can be in this community when the end goal is just to work together as a team for those 30 or so minutes and complete the dungeon. Just because someone isn't comfortable with the weird strategy that you proposed, it doesn't mean you ostracize them and become toxic. I think the only viable solution that, if implemented now, would change a few issues. Okay, so now he's going to state it. A system where you rate your fellow party mates at the end of a dungeon and treat it similarly to a way that Blizzard treats bugs. Not every rating or comment would be about a player would be 100% accurate, but if you compile enough data on one toxic player and let that be known, the people would be hesitant to pug with one player. I don't think any one idea is the answer to our problem, but I do think we need to change our community's view on that. Yeah, that's very, very, very well said, dude. I really 100% agree with everything there. A rating system is what I would be in favor. Like I said, we have an entire thing drafted. It's never going to happen, but we had an entire idea for a website and a new scoring system, and that would be one of them for sure. And Raider IO's explicit remarks on the topic were that they only want to have data. They don't want to have opinions on their website. Which is fine, if that's the way they feel about it, that's fine. But they're letting the data become opinions, so not great. Pepsi Dog, look, it's Gear Score all over again. I dislike the WoW community from the bottom of my heart for this elitism bullshit. It's quite different than Gear Score, to be fair. So let's just move on from that. Trash Pandemonium. As a tank, I cannot begin to count the times I've pugged high level Mythic Plus key runs, either mine or someone else's key, only to have someone leave halfway through because we either not going to make the timer, or one person left after only 1 to 2 wipes, which more often than not stems from the dungeon fixes on any given week. I also find it extremely disappointing going through all the effort most of the times and either come out empty-handed with the key to a dungeon I don't want or need to run, or a piece of gear that I cannot use. Well, I mean, the rewards of Mythic Plus I think are overly generous, so I'm not going to talk about that. I don't think there's any precedent to be changing the rewards, but I just think people need to actually, like you said, not leave after 1 to 2 wipes. I mean, it's absurd. It doesn't happen in any other content. You know what I mean? Like, it would be like if the first mechanic on a boss caused a death, somebody just left in the middle of the encounter. It's a terrible example, but that's why it's such a bad thing that is happening, because you can't compare the two systems. You know what I mean? But Blizzard is willing to allow people to do it anyway. Like, they're not the same type of system. You should never be leaving a dungeon in progress. You know what I mean? You chose to sign up to it, unless all 5 people are, more so, unless the key holder's like, all right, thanks anyway, guys. At least if it's the key holder, then it's like, well, whatever. It's his key. He can do what he wants. You know what I mean? But if the 4 other people do it, it's like, yeah, okay. Well, thanks a lot. Thanks for coming, man. Thanks for wasting my time. Thanks. And the problem is you spend 20 minutes sometimes forming this group, getting everyone there, and then somebody leaves 5 minutes into the dungeon. This is what makes me worry about Classic, by the way. It's a whole nother topic, but this is what really makes me worry about Classic. If this is happening in Live WoW now, it's definitely going to happen in Classic. Anyway, I'm new to Mythic Plus's expansion, but I absolutely hate pugging. We're almost done. Especially since my preference is healing. Healing in pugs can be a total nightmare if people don't know what they're doing and aren't willing to look at their own potential mistakes and lean towards improvement. I have no problem sticking through a key to the very end, as long as the group is communicating and trying to work together. It's a rare find. I'd love to just find a regular group of people to run Mythic Plus with and not worry about my Raider IO score. or if we're going to make the time every run. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's the thing. Like, it is important to find a regular group of people to play with. Like-minded players are what you should be looking for. But again, I still, I think pugging is very redeemable. I think it's perfectly within redemption because I pugged a lot of 5-mans. I play with a guild. I've been playing with the same guys for 10, 20 years now, right? So they're great friends of mine, and not all of them play as feverishly. Most don't play as feverishly as I do, and that's fine. I enjoy playing with them, but they don't really like doing 5-man, so I've always kind of pugged. Even when gearing up in 5-mans, you can tell they're not as interested in them as I am. So I've done a lot of pugging, and for over since the Burning Crusade, I've done a ton of pugging, especially as a tank and 5-mans. And I've seen it never be worse than this, ever. I've never seen people leave. And the big difference is the same situation in challenge modes, right? Like the parallel system. In challenge modes, you could have just reset the dungeon. You could have started over. And people would have done that. They wouldn't just leave after, oh, we wiped. Let's just restart. Do it again. We'll do better this time. That's the assumption, right? You've learned from the mistake. But it's like, nah, all right, key's dead. And that's partially Blizzard's fault, right? Because they don't allow you to practice the key. So the person in the key has to allow the practice to happen. Okay, so I gotta drink. Hold on. Well, you make many valid points. I think the most reasonable one that can be changed is the keys themselves. As he said, lack of practice is an issue. That's a good segue into that, huh? The same strats don't work week to week. A key not downgrading until the run is finished would help. Someone ditched on your 10, you may have to find someone new, but at least you can start over. That would actually be a great idea. And maybe it's a bit too easy then, because people might just forfeit. Like, they might forfeit a key and just to start. Well, that's not really a bad thing, though, is it? Anyway, most people won't run freehold all the time. Yeah, they probably will. That's on Blizzard to fix the loot and general difficulty of the dungeon to encourage people to want to do them all. Well, I don't think that would happen, though, right? Wait, it would also be great if they removed the dungeon from... Oh, I didn't even read that part, right. Just have it be a key you can use anywhere. I think a better idea would be to take the dungeon from the keystone. But, yeah, like, you know what I mean? Like, you get freehold. That's it. Like, there's no level on it. You get freehold. And then you put the key in, and the highest freehold you've ever done is the highest you can start with, I've done a freehold 15. Okay, well, here, I put 15 in. Now I can start with 15, no matter what. But I got freehold. Now, okay, we did freehold. Now we got a tall. Going to go to a tall. I'm going to do a tall. Highest a tall I've ever done is 14, so we're doing 14, etc. And then, like, every time you upgrade, so I did a 14. I upgraded 14. Now I can get now 15 unlocks. We get a chance to do 15. As long as I complete the 15, it's now part of my keystone system. It's way too complicated, but I've been thinking about this for a while. In fact, I actually think Faxi was the first guy to bring that system up. But I do think that either removing the levels from the keystone or removing the dungeon from the keystone would be a healthier environment. Anyway, let's keep reading. Just have it be a key you can use anywhere. Yeah, people would definitely just do free. If you can just do freehold all day, every day without any key locked to it, then yeah, they would do that. That's on Blizzard to fix the loot. You're right. You're definitely right. Those dungeons are ass comparatively speaking to the other 8, and Blizzard should look at why instead of locking people. Yeah, I really disagree with this, man. I don't know. Like, people are really overly critical of Shrine and Temple, especially Temple. Like, I don't know what Temple's easy. What the problem is the bosses are odd, right? They're all a little odd. Shrine is just, it's hard. It's a lot of trash, a lot of dangerous trash, but I mean, yeah, it's really not. I don't know. People, I think, really over exaggerate about Shrine and Temple, but regardless, yeah, this is also a problem. Balancing all 10 keys is better. Philip Watkins, what's up, man? Long time no see. Outstanding video. Pugging as a warrior tank has made Mythic Plus issues a bit overwhelming, mostly because protection is good. This is the death of WoW for me. Community was the reason I played and the reason I'm leaving. Oh, that's a shame. I still like the game in general, but dungeons is what I do most. Some changes don't make sense. Everyone is pissed for any reason, and playing with random people is not fun anymore. Goodbye, world. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I understand this. Like, everyone is pissed for any reason, and playing with random people. It's true, man. I mean, like, you can go on the forums right now, and there's going to be a dozen people just complaining. It's like, don't you guys have anything better to do, man? Just make threads about things you don't like all day? It's really, I don't know. But I'm obviously not going to quit the game because of that, but I don't know. The thing about I'm not sure why he brought this up. I assume he's talking about Protection Warrior. I think Warrior's in a great place now. I don't know. This was posted before the patch, I think, but I think Warrior's in a great place. So I would, for me, if my spec is off meta, I'm going to just try to show you guys that I can play it the best that it's possibly able to be played. That's it. You don't have to be playing a Blood DK to have fun in Mythic Plus. And coincidentally, I'm playing a Blood DK, so it makes me sound a bit hypocritical. But I'm telling you, if you're serious about playing a Warrior, if you play Warrior with the same passion that I play Blood, well, then go show people that it's worth bringing. Go show them that you're worth having in the group, and problem solved. Anyway, Uruz Leviathan, another long-term viewer. I haven't seen him in the stream much. I also reconsidered resubbing to WoW after the start of BFA, but now I might not, seeing as how the dungeon metagame is the same old unbalanced flavor of the month classes. It seems a lot worse than Legion was. I wouldn't agree it's any worse than Legion was. People are making it sound like it's worse than Legion was, but if you look at the proliferation of any single patch in Legion, it's the same. There was a top-tier tank. Healers were way less. Like, it was way worse in Legion. In BFA, it's way more balanced for healers, thankfully. In Legion, it was way worse. There was never going to be anything other than Druid and Paladin at the time. Tank was the same. It was always just one or two tanks, just like it is now. DK or Monk. Those are the best, and those are the top tier. And then DPS, maybe it's slightly worse in Legion because of how strong Rogue was, and especially in the beginning before the changes to combat or Outlaw, whatever. But I really don't think it is. The difference is just Rogue Skip is way more useful now than it was in Legion. So everybody's bringing a Rogue, and then Demon Hunter looks like a god amongst men, but realistically, they're not that much better than any other class. It's just those two are titanic, but it was the same way in Legion. Everybody brought a Mistweaver, a Windwalker. Windwalker was the absolute end-all, be-all, and Bombkin and Affliction were basically unkillable, unbeatable. They were just guaranteed spots, you know what I mean? You could bring other things like mages and hunters and, even Ellie Shaman, things like this were good, but the meta is always going to be the meta. So if anybody is out there considering either quitting the game or returning to the game for, and then having concerns about unbalanced flavor of the month classes, just do yourself a favor and don't play the game. As much as it sucks, you're not going to enjoy it, so don't worry. A little communication goes a long way in Mythic Plus. If you take the effort to talk to the pug groups and make a few things clear to them, I find that Mythic Plus dungeons, even at level 10, go so much more smooth. If you are the one of those people that needs to take all the shortcuts, make sure your group knows how you want the dungeon ran through beforehand. When I do, the groups tend to stick together and communicate better and all around perform well through the dungeon. I hardly ever have people leave my pugs. The worst thing you can do in a pug is assume that everyone knows what exactly to do. So I think there's a lot more to this topic than I would want to address right now. One thing I will say is that the anonymity in the game is a problematic element for this, for sure. Obviously, the things I talked about in the video, like the pseudo-elitism, is a problem for sure. But the other problem is that when you start talking in chat, but not in Discord, it causes this kind of like, let me put it this way. I don't ever want to be the first person to talk in a situation. And sometimes I do it, even though I'm sitting here saying I shouldn't. Because it causes problems. It causes typing. Typing is not good. You shouldn't be typing. So doing it at the start of a dungeon, and I've had this experience in League of Legends and other games, talking at all, just play. That's all I can say. Just play the game. And if there's mistakes, try to get better. So I hate typing in a Mythic Plus dungeon type scenario, in a pug scenario, because I feel like it's going to open up these battles. These people they gotta show that they're the alpha. They got to show that playing Demon Hunter number 55,000 that I know better than you. You know what I mean? It's like we can still do this as a team, but everybody's an individual. It feels like anymore. Maybe we're not almost done. Oh my God. Wow, I thought we were almost done. Okay. Biggest problem in WoW community is the WoW community. I agree. Your points are very well articulated. I agree. Thank you. Thank you. Very well laid out and to the nail. Thank you. All right, we're flying through them. Johnny Utah. Fantastic video, bro. Thank you. Ice Block. Titan Forges can occur in depleted keys as well. Finish what you started. Don't be a penis. Finish the key. I agree. Depleted keys drop less loot, so the chance of getting an item in the first place that can actually Titan Forge is smaller. I agree. But the amount of time it takes to find a new group and upgrade that key would not be, it's not commensurate. Just finish the fucking key you signed up for. Real talk, what is the other data you talk about that would help identify people who are douches? Because that's the main problem. Data which captures how many times you complete the same dungeon won't tell you much about leaving the pug early or pushing for tough route strategies. Maybe it would encourage a small portion to go easier routes just for time purposes, but people seem willing to throw away time and a key by leaving already, so people probably wouldn't do a ton. You would need an Uber-esque rating system for your other puggers, which would be insane with the WoW community. Like, not saying IO is perfect, but legit have Have not sure what you think this other data will consist of. This could be a whole nother video. I explained a lot of it in the actual video, but yeah, it just a rating system. I think that's all we need to say. I'm running out of time here, so we got to get moving. Let's see. Great video. I've noticed Mythic Plus dungeons are full of toxic, impatient people, which I can see why a lot of us don't bother with. I hope Blizzard sees the points you've discussed and all the negativity they bring. Mythic seems to be full of players that are cocky, arrogant, and up their own arses. Sadly, I would have to agree. The question is, how do you practice keys and get better when people quit and waste a key? I'm not so much a victim of this because I have a guild, but I do pug sometimes. It's refreshing when a mistake happens and people stick it out. It really is, isn't it? I make a point to applaud the group for sticking it out, but the inverse, when I tank and want to try something and it doesn't work out and the group explodes, it's a shame. It really is. It really is a shame. It's called lower keys. The only difference is that high key and low key is the damage done by mobs. Yeah, unfortunately, it's not. I read this comment a while back. This is really untrue. The mechanics, they do not change from a 2 to 20. It's all the same mechanic. The only time people care about mechanics is if it kills them, but the true problem is the free loot Blizzard gives, making it so you can smash through mechanics. Maybe that's the case, but the one thing I definitely want to say about this and what makes this really frustrating to read is that is just not true at all. The fact that, like, you're even saying that is pretty embarrassing. So the difference between even a 10 and a 12 is that things are going to take longer. The pacing of the dungeon is going to change. So that's going to change the way you approach the dungeon. You know what I mean? It's a timed run. The fact that it takes longer changes the dungeon. It's not just the mobs have more health and do more damage. They also change the way you use CDs, change when you use CDs, change what you might pull. For example, one week, it might be a very good idea to pull 3 or 4 packs in a row in Lust or something like that. Well, and then another week, it's not a good idea. This is something that needs to be practiced. And you're never going to practice this if people keep leaving after one mistake. It's like the weeks change so vast. They're so vast, it changes. So different week to week, some of these dungeons, that people, they don't care to practice them. They're just like, this is a dead week. Dead key. See you later. I can't stand it. I agree. And have a nice ignore list of people that leave Mythic Plus. Did 10 Waycrest a while back. It took an hour 34. I never left a key. As for the score stuff, I only worry if it is because I don't have a high one. I can't get into any keys as a DPS. I've been declined for 10s, even with it showing I've completed an 11. Yeah, that's a whole different problem. You're getting declined because there's just too many people. You can't expect otherwise. Hey, Tagor, what's up, man? You're also in the key level bracket, by the way. Pugs for gear and pugs for score. If you do lower keys, 8 to 10, you have way less levers since people won't gear. Yeah, see, that's kind of the opposite. I feel like, after especially reading all these comments, I feel like that's the opposite. But anyway, start slow clap. Holy shit, this is dead on, bro. I hope the right people see this and do something about it. As a tank, Blood DK, I agree with your sentiment on the statement of Mythic Plus. I have nothing to add as you said it perfectly. Great video. I hope changes are made. Thanks. The PT, or the P Thunder? P Thunter. No, the PT Hunter. What's up, man? Once you get all the gear, all you really care about is score. In the top, oh god, there's a lot of comments here. In the top end of Mythic Plus, I sometimes leave high keys. If people fail at tactics horribly, I'm not elitist at all. If people doing them high level content they shouldn't be doing, that is the problem. Again, don't be so childish, man. I'm glad that it's not me, it's them. Yeah, it's don't be so childish. Everybody can get better, including yourself, including me. Push your own keys then. Well said. Did you even read my message? In high keys, not many people care about gear. It's Mythic Plus score only. If you're doing a 13 in a pug and someone is underperforming to the point of us wiping, or we won't make it to the time, there is zero benefit to finishing. No, there is definitely benefit to finishing it. Unless, of course, it's a close call, in which case you finish it. That's only the case because Radar IO score. If they change the score even a moderate amount, it would completely change your opinion on this topic. A good example is Underrot on a fortified week. You have to skip the trash in the start, and if you wipe at any point, that's a great example. I'm glad they fixed it, so let's move on. Problem is people leaving even 5 to 10. I had to finish 3 dungeons as 4 people, so if the person leave because their score, it did not matter because he still got counted with us. If he's done the same key with 2 upgrade later, it will still give him score even if you finish the old key after time expired. Yeah, I mean, so many problems. We could talk about this all day. Agreed on 382 and there for the challenge of time, not completion. You should be there for both. They go hand in hand. The challenge of the time is only there after you've completed the dungeon. Demonstrate that you can complete the dungeon first, then worry about it. It'd be like, all right, hey guys, I'm playing Pokemon Gold for the first time. I'm going to do a speed run. Why don't you learn the ins and outs of the dungeon first? You know what I'm saying? I agree. People leaving keys in the 2-9 bracket is annoying because you want to get gear, not to mention actually play the game and have fun. Yeah, again, if that's happening, I don't know. Okay, I remember seeing this guy from before. The comment section is ridiculously hilarious. Glad none of you are actual game designers. Whatever project you're on will never be known. I don't think anybody here is working on any projects, man. Jesus Christ. See completion deserter percent? Really? There's a reason you don't see that arbitrary crap. You say you want that. You really do not want that. Oh, no, I definitely do. Only petty people suggest things that do not pertain to them, but in reality, it does. Wait, suggest things that they do not pertain to them, but in reality it does. I don't understand. You think it's a good idea until it affects you. If one person deserts a key and your group falls apart, everyone will get desertion. That's not, like, why? I've seen a lot of people say that. Why do we assume that that's how any system would have to work? But first of all, I don't agree with that. The only way around that crap is putting in a Sandy Vagina ticket every single time someone does the initial desertion. I don't want to give too much away just in case it ever happens, but yeah, I have a way around that. Let's put it that way. At the start of the week, a guy left my alts too. I laughed my ass off reading my party chat, pissing and moaning, talking designs for punishment, intentionally waiting 10 minutes. Oh yeah, you might want to post a group for replacement if you want to continue this. 3 seconds later, everyone leaves. With said story, if I stay in my dungeon until reset, should I still get a strike against me? Should all the people that left prematurely get a strike upon them? I'm still here. They left before the job's done. There's a lot of different ways to address this, and I'm not in. It's definitely not the time to talk about this. But regardless, I understand why you'd react this way. It's not really relevant though. There's ways to work around that, so don't worry about this. This video is on point. Thanks, Clear Noah. Clear no. When people join anything above a 10, it's with the intention of timing it, not for loot. If you're joining a high key for loot, then you're the type of player that likely doesn't have the ability and or mentality to complete the key on time, which is the whole point of the entire thing. That's a shame. I mean, it's weird to see people who, maybe you don't watch this channel, but it's weird to see people say this kind of stuff that's just, I mean, diametrically opposed to how I play the game. But I'm joining a high key for both competition and rewards, for sure. So I will continue to advocate for changes. I need Frosty K streams. However, on the note of the elitism issue, the MDI was forced groups to exclude probably 60 to 70% of classes and specs considered out of the meta. I honestly watch your streams and cringe at all you go through and see. I'm glad somebody actually recognizes it. Really makes me sad as I love this game, but don't get to Mythic Plus much because I don't enjoy online arguments with random people if a wipe happens. I wish your Raider IO alternative would have happened, seeing as you would have a stake in it. Yeah, I would have loved it. Me too. It would have been awesome, but sadly, it's going to be too much of an investment right now. I often see checking Rio for a 2. This has really become a problem. That's a different problem. Again, not related to my video, but yeah, I don't know. You shouldn't need Radar IO score for 2s. That's the thing. Thank you for this video, Andy Cena. Thanks a lot. Hey, Metro. Nice day, Samuel. Nice analysis overall, and I agree there are a few issues with Radar IO scoring system that could be improved, but contrary to what you say, I think the scoring is actually generous to non-timed keys. I think the main problem and why people hate it is because it's an external tool. I believe Blizzard should implement an in-game Mythic Plus rating similar to how PvP has it and tune it in a way that is as good as possible and making sure it promotes key completion. That would be great. Then sites Radar IO would only see to break down history of you in more detail, but not to grade you. That would be great. If Blizzard could control the rating, but Radar IO could do the rest, that would be fine by me. Here are a few examples showing why I think Radar IO scoring system is actually generous and non-time keys. Pull from my own history. Let's take a look. So he got over by 3.6%. The thing is, I wish it was included the timer. I don't know what 3.6% is meant to be of a 15 told to gore. What is that? 3% of what, 35 minutes? So what's that, a minute? Like, that's not really that far over. You know what I mean? We're talking about more like, it's going to be like about 50% over. It's still like doing a 15 that takes 45 minutes is still harder than doing a 13 that you do it on time. But the whole thing is, on the other side, they don't seem to value 2 chests very well either. The fact that you only got 5 more points for 2 chesting, that's another problem altogether, trust me. I don't like either side of it. So 13 Waycrest over by 2%. Again, 2% is just really, I'm glad that, like, you know, within 5 or 10% they're not harming you as much, but I'm talking about, like, we are not ever going to upgrade this. Let's try it anyway. That's what I'm talking about. So yeah. Okay, this is interesting. 16 Waycrest over by 46.4%. So it took us almost an hour. Okay, that's a good example there. I'm glad that he posted this. 136. 13 Waycrest. Huh. I mean, if that's the case, then yeah, I guess I'm wrong about that. 16. I think above 15 it starts getting better. So maybe this is the problem. You know, I've a lot of my experience lies under 16. But it does seem to exponentiate pretty hard over 16. So, yeah, all right, maybe that's the case. Still, that's real. I mean, again, that's really bad. I don't know what the bigger problem is here. That a 16 only gave you credit for a 13, or that a 13, a really clean 13 run, gave you very little extra credit. I just don't like the system altogether. Real metrics or not, the problem is no one is patient with others these days, and people are only tolerant to their own errors. In the vanilla times, wiping was part of the game, as was getting better and working with a team. Not just vanilla, let's put it that way. Now, most of the pugs just hope some Raider IO will join and carry them. In this light, I'm a bit skeptical about the class WoW reception next year. The classic WoW reception. I'm WoW. Fucking couldn't have said it better myself. I am very skeptical. I think it will be sobering experience for many now still hyped players. See, I think it'd be the opposite. I agree that parts of the Raider IO metric should be percentage of the group deserted while instance run was in progress. So this is actually I'm glad he said this, but he said it for a different reason than the opposite of why I would have said it. I would have said it because it's actually not because of the game, if you ask me, in the vanilla times. So you're onto something here. You said times. It's not vanilla. It's times. It's 2004. People were different back then. Gamers were different back then. Gaming itself was different back then. And I'm very worried about what Classic is going to look like in 2019 when it comes out. I'm a 1.1k Feral Druid. I can barely get invited to 10s when I've timed a few 12s and even a 13. When I put in my comment I'm a Feral Druid, they invite me, see I'm not a meta chicken, and kick me, as they should. Feral is still insanely good right now? No. And will be even better next week? That's true. But the community perception thinks if you're not a Demon Hunter, Rogue, Mage, or Bomb Kit as a DPS, get the fuck out. It's insane. These people are wanting meta DPS tanks, heals for 10s. That's true. That is definitely insane. They think that they're in the same level for a vast majority of players. Like you said, trying to do these strats at a pug non-practice level usually results in someone or the group wiping. Also acts as a crutch if they successfully pull off these strats and pugs, because they, as a pug player, can only do that dungeon. That's a great point, actually. A very, 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 very good point. The fact that this is so widespread actually kind of proves what I'm saying here. That these people are only after the easiest route. You know what I mean? That they're not even willing to go. But Feral Druid, terrible example. Feral loses a comparison with its own class. You should never play Feral, but we've talked about this at length. I, like you, used to be a holy paladin until pugging Mythic Plus got crazy stressful as a healer. I can't even imagine what it's like through the eyes of a pug healer right now. Yeah, I can't imagine it either. Adding a deserter record is not really easy. Let's say some group member was a total douche and you left the group. This counts as a deserter in terms of system. Either a douche leaving after a single wipe or a victim leaving group are the same. Again, I don't know why so many people think that that's the only way to do it. We have to collect the chat history or at least investigate it with a sensible person to determine what person was a douche every time. This is too costly. It probably is too costly, so it probably won't happen. This Mythic Plus system in this video is basically human decency problem. I agree. And depicts current sorry status of the WoW community. Agreed. There's no way to leverage the kind of external problem as a game developer or some community member with adjusting an in-game, either genuine or user-implemented system. It'll take more Blizzard employees to handle the problem. They might even need to bring in lawsuit methods against those toxic players. What the fuck? That's an interesting point. So, yeah, it's painful, but leaving the system as it is to rot until no one even touches is the way as a game dev or any decent community can take. Unless you start some social campaign or something, if the stock prices fall down simply due to systematical reason, then shareholders will approve to implement human behavior regulation. It's a very weird approach to this comment, but again, I categorically disagree that this is the only way to do it. I don't know why people think this. Anyway, I would suggest people at 800 Raider IO score, this is this guy from before, that has gotten to 12, not required 1200 score for their keys. While playing on alts, I see this so much. I guess I'll take your word for it. I very rarely see anybody looking at score for these keys. Someone inviting someone that obviously only joins to get the dungeon in time for score when he is queuing up with his other 800 friends. Then the 1200 leaves when he realizes the key is not going to be completed in time. Just stop requiring people to be a lot more qualified than you to join your key. Obviously, I mean, oh, I love this. So don't try that argument on me, bro. Anyway, either way, yeah, I would. I don't think this happens. I really, if you guys seeing it happen, I was not making this video with the assumption of that happening. So let's move on. Solid opinion. The scoring system does not work in some ways. If you use it very loosely, but ultimately it has plenty, or does work, and plenty missing. I particularly like your take on affixes impacting score. If I time a 14 key during Fortified Sing Necrotic Week, it should never hold the same value. Yeah, I'm glad we agree there. Ryan, yeah, glad we agree. Oh my God, how many more do we have? Jesus. No. All right, we're almost done. All right. Anyway, went balls out Mythic Plus and Legion. Loved the experience. In BFA, I find myself missing the old challenge mode system. I didn't have as much replay value because completing golds on each class, besides completing golds, but it felt so damn rewarding to get those skins. It's true, but the rewards are better for sure. Mythic Plus rewards are way better. The problem I think that I miss is how the system actually works. Like the fact that you could reset your key and scaled and all that. Most of these problems can be fixed with 2 simple changes. 1, add a deserter stat as has been suggested by many people. 2, pause the time. Yeah, this is not possible. I've seen people suggest this. This is not an option. You cannot have this. You cannot pause the timer. People will abuse it. Madden NFL used to implement a category for its ranking system that used did not finish. That's interesting. If it's finished, if it's possible, I feel like the addition to make an otherwise useful tool would be the answer to the people abusing the system to only include the dream runs on their resume. That's interesting. I don't. Yeah, I don't know what you're suggesting, but either way, Craig, longtime viewer, thanks, man. I don't really think that someone with a 1.4K Rio score is a person to look at regarding healing Mythic Plus because you don't have that much experience as you may think you do. Now you may say that is all about pugs and so on with 2 Gs, but this game is not meant to be pugged endlessly. It's about playing with friends or finding them within a game to play with you. In my opinion, very high Mythic Plus as well as Mythic Rage should not be puggable or should be relatively hard for pugs as it is now. The problem is they're making it harder than it. First of all, eat a fucking dick. You're going to come at me with like trying to insult me? Eat a fucking dick. My video, you can get fucked. But regardless, what you say, I will reply to. In my opinion, very high Mythic Plus. You're right. It should not be puggable, but we're not talking about very high Mythic Plus. We're talking about 14s, 15s. Very easy to do. People demonstrate that they can do them all the time in pugs with no voice, and people make them harder than they should be. That's what I'm talking about. Whew. All right. Well, I personally have spoken with the devs of Radar.io on this matter, asking for a participation score for IE stuns, kicks usage, but the problem lies with Blizzard due to their API not being fully released to the company and thus cannot implement a better scoring system that they have due to Blizzard's refusal to release API information. So Radar.io is not to blame when they can only do what they can with what they have available. I'm not 100% sure that this is false, but I'm pretty sure it is. I'm pretty sure they could do more. You don't need to be worrying about kicks and shit. Obviously, they can't do this. This is not needed. This is not what we're talking about. But I do think Radar.io is to blame in some way. There's already 0 punishment in the game other than in Mythic Pulse. All your gearing paths take little to no skill to get the gear. This is another issue that is caused by Blizzard. This is why Radar.io is so prevalent in Mythic Plus side of the game due to Blizzard giving away gear that did not earn it, i.e. 370 bracers from the Warfront. I mean, it's true. That's a whole different topic, but it's 100% true. Most are not playing the game for Blizzard. Most high-end players are playing WoW due to Radar.io, and this is why they are still playing this bad expansion. Anyway, they do have a training system. It's called Lower Keys, and no, they don't. This is not relevant. And this is why Blizzard did make changes in BFA to some of the only good changes they have put in the game by making Fortified and Tyrannical on every key. This is to teach player how to do the dungeon. Maybe, but it's not enough. What's with the spacing? Why is there like a space before every sentence? The problem was back in Legion, none knew the boss mechanics. None knew how bad the trash in the dungeon was due to Tyrannical and Fortified only being on high keys, so they would stomp through the dungeon not learning. Again, if you're going to try to convince me that learning in a 9 is the same as learning in like a 12, it's just not true. The only thing that changes on high key is the damage done and the health of the mobs. No, it is not. But that changes more than you realize is more what I'm trying to say. So by now being 17 weeks into BFA, people should know the dangers of the trash and the dangers of the boss, but they are not learning due to being carried by better DPS. The problem is a lack of difficulty throughout the game. I could agree with that to some degree. And Blizzard catering to the casuals that want to do high-end content but don't want to do the grind. It's actually ironic because I would agree with this, but for, again, a different reason. Blizzard has made getting into competitive content considerably easier, but it's had the opposite effect that I think it should have had in the game. It's turned people into the pseudo-elitists. It really has. Like, these people normally would not be able to do what they're doing. They don't have the right mentality for it. But because the game allows them to get the gear and to be as progressed as they are, it causes this problem. So I don't think it can be fixed. I think this is what Blizzard wants the game to be. So we're going to have to deal with it as a community. There has to be a punishment in games for people to have learned. You have said it yourself. You learn more from a defeat than a win, but players do not reflect on themselves because they play it because they don't watch their play like they watch others. It's super easy to pass blame. If what you're saying is what I think you're saying, I agree. The only time that a DPS will kick a spell or do mechanics 100% is if they got fucked hard by them. Yeah, sadly, you're right. But now the player base has the gear to just overpower up to a 7 and just smash the buttons and get the win. Does this happen in the first place? Why does this happen in the first place? Blizzard giving free loot. I mean, the fact that you're using a 7 as an example doesn't really lend yourself very credibly to this conversation. But anyway, I do agree with the gearing problems. It's a whole different topic, though. Another comment from him. The patch 8.1 is released in dungeon currency, and dungeon currency should be the only way to obtain high levels of gear. There needs to be a bigger gap in the player base. Normal rage should be for everyone and keys up to 5. Heroic should be a second rank that is harder to get the gear out of, and not just free. Adding 1 or 2 mechanics is not enough of a challenge for most players. Mythic should be insane, kind of like it is now. MMORPG reward players by time and knowledge invested in the game. Blizzard MMORPG login beat the game. This logic is bad way for the community to have the mindset of, but it's granted to them from Blizzard and it's a joke. See, again, a complete opposite viewpoint on this. I think it's a very good thing that they've made it easier to get into competitive content. It's just that people are getting into competitive content and they're not competitive players. Like, that's the problem. It's like you can't go into the content and not take it serious. And that's what they're doing. They're going in there and expecting it to be easy when it's not easy. Maybe your solution to this is the right one, but I don't know how I would fix this. MDI is a way for Blizzard to enter the esports market and is an amazing thing. The last MDI was won by a nobody that just got fed up and invested time into building his own hardcore groups. Okay, I don't know anything about that. But anyway, sure. Again, the gearing problems are definitely there, and that is not related to Mythic Plus if you ask me. Hoping for a stream today. Hey, man, as this was 3 weeks ago, I will not be streaming today. Great video. I agreed with almost everything. Same. Great video. Pugging is so broken. It's great analysis, and I 100% agree with your solutions. This is kind of the reason I didn't want to post a bunch, because I don't want people to just be like, I 100% agree with you because you're the guy who made the video. I'm glad that people did have their own opinions. I think it's a well thought out critique of the current toxic system. Wolf, I agree. I know it's part of the identity of your stream, so you play these random pugs all the time, but an easy counter is to play with guild and friends list. Again, like, yeah, you're right. You can definitely fix this problem on yourself with playing with guilds, but it shouldn't be this hard to pug. So, great video. Make an add-on, man, and we will all buy it. It'll be illegal to buy an add-on, but anyway. Yeah, I won't have the time. 256, that's an oof. I assume they're referring to something that happened in the video. I don't want to go back and look at it. Well said, sir. Well said. Inferno Master. Thanks, man. First real comment. Hey, Tripline. What's up, buddy? So far digging some of these ideas. Hey, great video. Thanks for sharing. Lewis, great comment. Thanks for sharing. We got a lot of comments. No, okay, we're good. Okay, we're almost done. People leave because time is expensive and score is the only way you can get into high-level groups. If you have 3 hours to play and have to spend 1 hour, 5 minutes on a 12 at all, when I already have it +1, then there is no incentive to stay. A very low chance for Warforge or Titanforge. Gear isn't stopping people from getting high keys. Time and score is. Score is not, but time is, yes. By completing the key, you're adding a score to other players whom they're basically leeching and making it harder for good players to climb by inflating the score system. That's not how it works, though. Why should I spend the time I can use to complete an entire Mythic Plus boosting bad players and putting myself in a bad mood? Again, maybe be more selective about who you group with, man. I don't know what to tell you. Makes no sense. I agree. It doesn't make sense to say what you're saying. You should be if you're this worried about who you're grouping with, then don't group with them. There's compassion and there is slavery. That's just ridiculous. Why would you even say that? Why would you even bring that word up? Slavery. I refuse to be a slave to people who aren't even willing to put the effort in. How could you? I don't know, man. Sometimes you just never get through, I think. Reading the dungeon journal and interrupting isn't difficult. I mean, if that's the reason that you're wiping, then I think you're doing like 5s and shit. If you think people didn't read the dungeon journal and that's why you're failing to upgrade keys, then maybe we're talking about 2s and shit. Okay. Do the community a favor and unsub. Leaving keys at the first sign that you won't get your precious score upgrade is not okay. Realizing the score does nothing. It's a contrived hamster wheel that has no end and no rewards. Hard to disagree. You obviously didn't read my comment, nor are you joining high-rated pugs. You require score plus logs. If you work full-time, then spending an hour in a dungeon that doesn't provide score is a complete waste of time. Why are you looking at it like that, man? Why can't you just play the game for what it is? Like, this is so sad. It really is. Problem point 3 is the real problem here. I don't remember what that is, but yeah. Thanks, man. Hey, dude, I'm just curious what add-ons. This is not related to the video. Great video. I agree. Thanks. Oh, I actually replied to this one. Whoops. Players who leave the Mythic Plus dungeon should not be able to get a chest at the end of the week. Regardless how many Mythic Plus they complete afterwards, there's not a single punishment if you leave a key. Just join another one. I don't agree that that should be the punishment, but I agree that there should be a punishment. What if leaving the group because someone is really mean and rude to me? I don't want to participate any longer. Yeah, like he says, you can ignore him, or you could be more selective about who you join a group with. No need for that. And ironically, this would bring back like realm communities and communities in general. No need for that. I have a pre-made group for our keys. Just wanted to know from you how Blizzard should handle all the different scenarios why people leave keys. Nobody should ever leave keys. But forcing people to stay inside the group, no matter how mean or bad they are, and run the risk of a 2-hour key. Again, if you encourage people to be more friendly, people would be more friendly. That's all there is to it. People are mean and rude now because of the community being the way it is. If we encourage change, then people would be less rude. Think about that. If they want a chest, maybe they will be changing the I'm glad he said this. Very well said. You can't change people that easily. That is also true. Those toxic characters, oh god, don't be long. All right. Be more definitely take advantage of the punishment to troll not so perfect players. This is like punishment of a victim of a gay rape, since the victim has involved into gay intercourse. Anyway, what the fuck? It's a weird way to describe it. Plus, you never know when your ISP cuts off the connection. Blizzard or Raider.io can't decide whether the DC was intentional rage quit or ISP hiccup. Right, exactly. But the thing is, it's not going to happen. If first of all, if you're DCing from a dungeon every time you do a dungeon, then you shouldn't be doing dungeons. That's also a valid thing. If it's not your fault that you're leaving keys, but you're still leaving the keys, I still don't want to play with you. You know what I mean? I don't care what the reason is. If you're not finishing keys, then please do not be in my groups. That's the end of it. So, you know, if that's, I can't help you. If you have spotty internet, then Mythic Plus is not for you. I don't know what to tell you. But anyway, what else? These toxic ones will take advantage of being. So this is another thing that I see a lot, and I don't know why people are so like pessimistic about the system. So you think people are just gonna sit in dungeons and troll them because there's an incentive, like, to complete the key? You think people are gonna waste their own time? So okay, even if they did that, the scoring, the new system is going to prevent them from doing it for very long. They'll do it maybe twice, and then all the ratings and you know all the comments and the opinions on them, it's going to be like, don't ever fucking join a group with this guy. And then we're back to classic where your name actually matters. You know, this is going to be attached to your account. You wouldn't do that if it was serious. You wouldn't do it. You'd be killing yourself. You'd never be able to pug again. You wouldn't do it. Pugging is better than doing it with the guild. Last time I did Mythic Plus with guild members, we did not +2 on time due to tank pulling 1 and 1 pack, and he's a 375 eye level blood decay. Pugging is way faster, and the people you meet in pugs are way better. That's a weird thing to say, but yeah. I sometimes it is fun to pug. Sometimes you get really good players when pugging. Let's put it that way. So that's another reason why I want to encourage pugging, right? Because it's fun to play with some of these people. It's not fun to play with all of them, though. Hey there, guys, and today it's the 6th of December, straight 1 year ago. Mythic and Taurus, the Burning Throne release. Pavel, what's up, man? You're the last comment. What a fucking I didn't think this was going to take an hour and a half, but that's everything. So I really like this idea. I don't always have an hour and a half to do it, but I really like the idea. So maybe we'll do this more frequently on certain videos. Let me know what you guys thought. If you actually watched, especially, let me know if you watched the entire hour and a half. I would love to hear your thoughts. But hopefully now what's going to happen here is there's going to be even more comments, people replying to me, replying to these people, and then I will subsequently reply back to them. So I think this is the way to do it. I'm not here to just have a one-sided thing. I want to actually have a line of communication with you guys. So hopefully this will be it. But thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next one.